Before we get started, I do want to do some reminders just to let you all know of some of the resources that we do have available. The Exchange, great place for knowledge and to talk with one another, and you all are added to your exclusive President Exchange group to talk to one another outside of these meetings, which we will have monthly so that you all can connect virtually. And of course, if you have something that is pressing or you need immediate assistance with, please feel free to reach out to your chapter liaison, which could be myself, Kelly, Crystal, or Emily. And also on the exchange, I do want to point out one of my favorite tools is the toolkit. We have a lot of things on our toolkit. It's the chapter leader toolkit. So if one of my colleagues could drop the link in the chat, that would be very helpful. Would appreciate it. And there you'll just find a lot of information in regards to chapter operations, committee charters, communications, marketing, you name it. For the most part, we have it in there. And if we don't have it in there, we'll figure it out and get something in there to help you. It's ever growing, ever changing, and it's always a work in progress. So we continue to add to it as we learn as a staff and as an organization in hopes that it can help you all learn and also help you throughout your presidency. So if there's any questions about that, again, feel free to reach out to your liaison or you can reach out to me directly. I would say that I probably know it the best because I end up putting the majority of the things in there. So I usually can find things a lot quicker. So please feel free to reach out to me directly if there's something specific that you're looking for. Any questions on the exchange or the toolkit specifically? Hopefully you all have used it and
I've
have
been
found
really
some
bad
things.
about going there, honestly, and I
That's
know there's
okay.
so many tools and resources. So thank you for reminding me and reposting it in there.
Yeah, no problem. It can get overwhelming. And honestly, sometimes I forget what we have in there because I put so much stuff in there and I'm honestly sometimes amazed. I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had that in here. So any moment, if you can't locate it, if you forget where something is, please feel free. Don't spend your whole day looking for something. We can locate it for you.
So I know this link took us directly where to find it because I see chapter leader toolkit, but if we were to just go to the caionline.org website, like the homepage, then how would we get there?
You log in. Well, to get there, you would go to the main page. I want to say you go to resources. Yep, at the very top, you go down to resources, click the tab, and then the first one says Exchange Online Community. You'd hit that one, and that'll bring you to the Exchange. And if you're looking for, well, actually, there are two ways. Well, no, the easiest way. If you're looking for the toolkit, I would just search chapter leader toolkit in the search bar, and that'll bring it to you, bring it directly to your page. And it's going to be that first one more than likely. If it's not, scroll down, and if you see something that has my name, Alicia Taplin, to it and toolkit, then click on that one because 9 times out of 10, that's the one that you're looking for. But most times, it's going to take you directly there once you put it in the search bar.
And we
I would say
recommend
just bookmark that. Yeah.
Easiest way to bookmark
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that first link, it did take me right to that. But if I go through how you told me and go to Exchange Online Community, that first tab, then it takes me to like /home and then /member home. And it looks different than
Yeah, I've noticed
Yeah.
sometimes when I've gone what I call the long way and typed it into the search bar, like accessing the exchange from the main CAI website page, and then does it. Sometimes it'll take me directly when I do the search, sometimes it won't. But I know part of that is I know exactly what I'm looking for, and usually it's within the first one or two. So that's always helpful. But I do recommend bookmarking it just for easier access.
okay.
That's a good question. Anyone else have any questions in regards to the exchange or the toolkit?
So you should have received an email today from the exchange. Weekly, we will be sending an email. So you probably have already, for those of you who were president-elect, I know some of you kind of came in later in the year. And so you will receive that weekly email as well with information. So weekly, you will be getting that. So we sent that out early today. Usually it's at the end of the day on Fridays that we send that out. Depending on how you have your feed, whether it's real time or you get a digest, you will get that either Friday or the following day on Saturday. If you did not receive that today, please let us know so we can go and look at your settings to make sure that you're getting those emails, because we will be providing regular communication through that with you. All right. You're muted, Alicia.
Sorry, they're picking up the trash in the front, so I'm just like, oh, okay, I hear them outside the window. But another way also, I just thought of this, Kelly. If you are on the exchange and you're looking for the president group, another quick way, if you just go to the My Communities at the top, that'll show you a list of all the groups that you're in. And so you can search for that president and president-elect group there. So that's another way also to access it if you're looking for that digest email or that weekly email that we send out every week as well. So lots of ways to get there. Some of them can be confusing, but in the end, we'll get you there. So no worries. Again, any other questions in regards to the exchange or the toolkit before we move on and dive into the meeting? Thought I heard someone come off mute. My pages. I think I don't have it on gallery. All good? Okay. All right, so our theme for today is starting off on the right foot. I guess it's not necessarily new year, new me, because you've been around for a little bit, but we want to know how your term is going so far, even though we're very early in. Would anyone like to elaborate on what they're feeling or how they're feeling or just where you are right now?
Sure, I could go first.
Go ahead, Joanna.
Sure. Hey, Joanna.
Hi, everybody. First and foremost, Happy New Year to everybody. So I'm the feels so great to say it. I'm the 2025 chapter president of the Long Island, New York chapter. And our chapter is pretty large. We have 600 members currently, and growing. And I've been part of the organization for 4 years. And I think it's great that our chapter has like a succession plan where once you're rolled into the CAI board, like you learn the ropes. That way, when you move up to vice president and president-elect and then president, you kind of already have shadowed enough to see where you can make an impact based on your observations. So I decided to take a very strategic approach with my role. The first thing that I did when I was officially elected is send like a from the president letter to the whole board, just kind of outlining who I am to the new board members, but also sharing my vision for my role. So that way it kind of sets the expectations for the direction. And that direction was informed based on observations and prior discussions with the board, but it also kind of makes it formal and kind of aligns the ducks for what we'll be focused on. I'm very, very lucky that this year we have some really great volunteers to help us spearhead, for example, our trade show committee. And I think also that the succession planning year over year helps with that too, because each person that becomes a chair kind of learns from the previous person and then adds their own twist of improvements and things that need to be accounted for. So far it's shaping up to be a fantastic chapter. We did have a little bit of a longer process with regards to our current chapter executive director's contract. The chapter has grown tremendously, and we recognize that there needed to be some changes to the contract to support the chapter even more. But I think that we're very fortunate to have a really great group of people that generally care about each of the team members, where even though it took us a little bit longer, we came up with something where the chapter is more supported and everybody's happy. So overall, I can't ask for anything else at this point in the game.
Well, we do love succession plans and planning in general. Very important to have. I will say, with that, you can always, it's nice to have plans to help you mitigate around any surprises, but don't think there won't be a surprise. So hopefully nothing that's too strenuous for you, but I'm sure you got it.
Yeah, it's New York. There's always surprises. We're used to it.
Well, at least you'll be better equipped to handle them. I think that's great that your chapter and your board, you start that process early. So it's like, okay, I've got a feel for this.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is too? Like, I feel that, and look, like I've served on plenty of other boards. Typically, I do through the tenure of my career. But with the CAI board, like they really just care so much that it makes everything so much easier. Sometimes it's a little challenging because when everyone's very passionate, like everyone's pulling towards their direction for the betterment of the group. So you kind of have to play, middleman. But I'd rather it be that way than nobody caring and then scrambling to get volunteers for this committee and that committee. So in that regard, we're pretty fortunate. And it's definitely one of the best boards that I've ever seen, and I've been on a lot of them, trust me.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear that you're able to use the passion to propel the mission. So I hope that you all have a great year. And I'm sure you all will got some good things in store for the chapter. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share thus far they've experienced in their term, even though it's early on?
I can share.
All right, Roxanne.
Yes, well, yesterday was our first, I think it was yesterday, the days keep flying. It was our first board meeting. I think it went really well. I think I would like maybe to ask a couple insights if someone has this experience. We already have our strategic plan done for this year. I feel like we're already on a roll and we don't want to add anything new. But what do you do when you have two new members who are wanting to add ideas, but you don't want to squelch that? My idea is let's add that to next year's strategic plan, make sure we keep it, you know, go ready for when we have that meeting later September. Does anybody have any other ideas to not squelch those new members? But we can't add anything new right now.
I think that's a great idea, Roxanne. Like that's what those strategic planning sessions are all about, is forecasting and planning for the next year. So thank you so much for these amazing new ideas. Let's start brainstorming on it now and what that will look like. And then at strategic planning, then you can put that into your next year's calendar and figure out what that would look like. But there's no reason, like if there were new events, you couldn't start working on ideas for it, start working on the charter, and then next year it would be implemented.
Yeah, I really just don't see the time right now to work on the new ideas. So
No, the new people would work on the new ideas.
but we want them working on what we got. But
But I think that brings up a pretty great point because, Alicia, you had mentioned before, like the unknowns and kind of like things that come out of the left field. So in our case, like we always have a strategic plan, but my goal for this year is to focus more like, the plan's great. It all looks great on paper, but the first meeting that I'm having on the 30th, the plan is great, it's fine, it's established, but I'm more interested in what do the committee chairs want as their goals, with regards to that strategic plan, like what are they contributing, like their little piece. But more importantly, what resources do they need? Because I think sometimes we get so angst on like putting a plan into place and here it is, it's on paper. And then it's like, wait, well, we don't have a budget for advertising, so we can't do that. And then you're working backwards. So I'm going to be focusing a lot of my first meeting time just making sure that each team member is supported with what they need in order to execute on their portion of that strategic plan. And I think that's really important.
Hey, also, I will say, I just thought of this as well. When it comes in, Kelly, feel free to jump in on this, but when it comes to setting your goals, if you have 1,001 goals for the year, it's going to be really hard to accomplish the one or two or three that you've already got in place. So I think that really draws back to you being the president and kind of keeping them on track and being that leader, and really decide, well, this is a priority right now. And perhaps maybe this thing that this other person or this other board member wants us to focus on or to prioritize or allocate resources to, it can fit into us furthering the mission through accomplishing this goal. So if you've got your strategic plan set in place and you've agreed, hey, this is what we're going to focus on for this year, these are my goals, you have to stay. Obviously, there can be some changes, but stick to that. And that's what propels you through the year so that you don't lose focus. Because otherwise, you'll look up and December will be here and you'll be wondering, oh, I had 1,000 things I wanted to do, but only got point half of something. So I don't know where everything was or where everything went. So don't become overwhelmed in trying to accomplish so many things. And also, I love to tell people this, my favorite word is no. Sometimes you have to say no, but that's, based on your expertise and the leadership and the direction that you're trying to go in. So those are hard conversations to have, but also we want you to be successful. We don't want you to become overwhelmed and burnt out by June when trying to execute all these magnificent ideas that everyone in your board may have, plus the things that you want to accomplish this year.
I think very good point. This is Mie from Georgia. The takeaway that I got from the law conference last year, you had a panel of past presidents who came and kind of spoke about their experience and if they had any advice. And one of the speakers, I distinctly remember her saying, kind of picks just a certain number of what you want to accomplish. Don't over expand yourself and say you want to do all these things, and just focus on setting goals and achieving just a few of those and feel really good about it. And I took that, I remember that. And as we did our strategic meeting, November planning meeting, and where the president-elect, me at that time, could set forth the agenda that I kind of wanted for this year, I was able to kind of brainstorm ahead of time, think about a few programs that I would really like to see that would benefit our chapter. And then, as I haven't had my board meeting yet, it's actually on the 28th. But as we, discussed that, we went ahead and started putting together subcommittees. And within the subcommittees, we had leaders on that subcommittee who would then make sure that deadlines were being met and things were being checked off. And so I just, instead of feeling so overwhelmed with so much, I think that really helped just to pinpoint a few really good goals to accomplish.
Excellent point. Yes.
Yeah. And then I just have one last thing to kind of share is, especially for new board members that are coming in, they're really excited, right? So again, you want to feed off of that excitement, but give it a couple of months that once they're in it and they're doing things and they have a project and everything, they might realize like, oh, my idea, while it was great, we do need to focus on these other strategies or these other initiatives first before we can move forward with other things that I am really excited about. So again, I think it's exactly what everyone's saying is, accept that, keep that enthusiasm alive. You don't want to completely shut it down. But also, give them some responsibilities with some of the strategic areas that you already have, so they can take those initiatives and say, hey, while those ideas are great, these might help build onto that for our next session. Or once we complete these, then we can start those next ones. So I think that helps too, of keeping their enthusiasm high and that excitement as well, while keeping them on the track that's already been decided.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does anyone else want to share how their term is going, or also if there's anything you may have a question about, you want to jump in there?
While you guys are thinking, I just, by a show of hands, but sorry, Jim, to cut you off, I see you came off mute, but how many of you have had your first board meeting already? All right, so about half the group has had the first one. All right, go ahead, Jim.
So far, so good this year. We had a little kerfuffle with our LAC, and I think Kelly's familiar with this. Crystal might be familiar with it too. In Minnesota, we typically fund our LAC 100%. And we're trying to find out some creative ways to not do that, to give them some more skin in the game. And that went over like a lead balloon. So that was the first thing we kind of dealt with. And it was interesting because we have three former presidents on the LAC, and they were like, well, I don't know if you know this, Jim, but when I was president, maybe you're new to this role. And it was just like this dressing down that was really, really unnecessary, that I kind of walked away and muted myself so I didn't say something I was going to regret. But we did have a meeting, the executive committee of the board with the executive committee of the LAC, and I think it went much, much better once we got some of these other folks out of there. Otherwise, our board meeting went great. We're having a planning session in February. Well, our board meeting we'll have our board meeting, then we're going to have all of our committee chairs. We're all getting together to kind of have an orientation, level setting, kick off the year dinner and going from there. The only other thing that we try to do is we're flipping each board member has their own committee that they're a liaison for. And there's a couple of people that have been on the same committee for years and years and years. Like mine was education, and some other people have been on different committees. So we decided we're going to musical chair it this year and switch it up. And one board member did not take it well, and we expected she wasn't going to take it well, and that was difficult. But other than that, I think most people embraced it and they're trying new committees. I did become the editorial committee liaison, and the editorial committee put me to work and already gave me articles to write. So that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but it's been fun so far.
Does anyone else do that with your board liaisons? I know we had a discussion a few months ago with some chapter presidents and president-elects about, making sure that it's not the same person always being the same liaison. Robin, I see you came off mute.
Well, I mean, we have people that are liaison, but I mean, sometimes our struggle is just getting people.
Yes.
So alternating it would be it'd be nice, like, because I'm been the chapter chairperson for quite a while, and I mean, we finally just got the person that's been the nominating chairperson. I think she's done it for 15 years. She finally got somebody to volunteer for that one. So I don't know. I mean, I may be old and gray by the time I get rid of the trade show. So. Yeah.
Robin, I'll
Drew?
send you some New York people.
Do what?
I'll send you some of my New York people. We have too many.
Yeah.
We need some
Well,
people
it's
in
not-
Alaska too.
We just have just shy people that seem like they want to just have this core group of people that have to do this, that they rely on to do all the work. And we have a great new CED, which makes it very confusing on our board meetings because we have two Robins. So we have to go Robin M, Robin D. So, but she wants to constantly volunteer, and I appreciate that, but she needs to let other people, and I need her to stop and let other people speak up. And because she's like, I'll do that. And I need her to remember the board members need to let, I want them to kind of have an opportunity to volunteer. Does that sound like right?
Yep. Especially as a smaller chapter. Yes. Because you are much more involved in some of the aspects than much larger chapters. Drew, I see you came off mute.
Yeah,
too.
we made a point of making or having everybody switch, or just about everybody switch their committee assignments this year, with the idea of doing it annually moving forward. There's a few exceptions to that. I mean, there's dynamic relationships that you don't want to curtail. The other thing is we've decided to finally enforce, I think it's been in our bylaws forever, committee chairs. We've made them step down after 2 years to open up the opportunity to other people and to change the blood a little bit.
Yeah, Kelly,
That's
we
great.
tend to rotate the committee liaisons every couple of years, and the committee chairs, it depends. Sometimes they stay a long time, and sometimes we switch them out. It kind of depends on performance and how they feel and how busy they get in their other part of their lives.
In Georgia, we have a 2-year term for the chairs. And then in the second year that they're chairing, we have the chair-elect work with them to kind of work together and train. And then the chair-elect, the president-elect, will also review as the incoming president all of the liaisons for. In Georgia, we have 11 committees, including LAC, and so we kind of go through and see if what fits best for the liaisons from the board members. So we try to accommodate both what the liaisons would like and what the needs are on those committees. So we do every year review that every year and make changes.
Yeah, we do it kind of similarly. So we have a board transition meeting. So we've already had that, and then we've already had our first board meeting as well because it's different business. But so at that transition meeting is when we go over the liaison roles, because there might be somebody transitioning off the board and the new people coming on, so we can have those discussions. So some people will stay on because it just works and it's a good fit. But then with our new members, we're able to kind of move some things around and get the right people in the right place. But we're also, we've amended all of our charters. And so those are getting adopted at our next meeting because we used to have, strict term limits and different number of people that could serve on committees because we had, certain committees that there was such a desire to serve. But so now we're eliminating the maximum number of people that can serve. And we're also taking off those term limits because we've got some people that have been, like myself included, I've been serving on our golf committee since 2010. And then you get new people on and you want new blood, but it's also nice to have that historical knowledge. And so now with not having the term limits, people are able to continue. So I was like a member and then I was board liaison, which allowed me to, continue to serve. So I kind of went back and forth to make it work. But that's kind of how we do it.
All right. Sounds like you all have a pretty good handle on this so far. I'm feeling good about you all's terms. I don't know about you all, so you should feel good about your term.
This is Janet Fernandez from West Florida, and you'll have to excuse me for not being on video. As you can hear, I'm sick as a dog. Nobody wants to see this.
Well, thanks for joining us, even
Yeah,
while you're
thank you.
sick.
You're good. We appreciate it.
No problem. We had our first board meeting and it went well. We ran about an hour over, but we allowed everyone who was new to express their ideas, take their time, feel heard. So that went very well. We did change up our liaisons, but since that meeting, we've run into a unique situation. We've addressed it, but I just like some advice from the others if you run into it. And that is that an outgoing board member who was very invested, he was our treasurer, in the financial details. As you know, a lot of times people they'll leave the board and they'll come back on the board at a later time. And so he wants to review all of the current treasurer's financials. He's calling it close out his term, et cetera, et cetera. He just really wants to be in control and keep his hand in it. We chose not to do that. He was making the CPA crazy. But our concern is we don't want to deter him from interest in the future, but it's not his time anymore and he needs to let go. So have any of you run into that? And if so, do you have any advice? Because we want him back eventually, but he's not here now, if that makes sense. Overzealous, I guess is the word. Crickets, you're a helpful bunch.
I would say, Janet, this is Crystal. I would find something different for him to do that is productive and helpful, that makes him feel important, even if he's not doing what he wants to do. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. We have invited him to a committee that we think he would be really good for. So I'm hoping he'll take us up on that.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other idea is if there's somebody on the board or maybe a past president that he respects, is maybe having that person have a one-on-one conversation saying, hey, this is, these people's time to shine and you're amazing and we know they want your involvement, but, just be a little conscious and give them the opportunity to step forward while you step back a little bit. So, if you prefer a more personal approach, you could try that as well.
And that might be a good idea. I don't know him well enough, so I'll ask around to see if there is someone else on the board that can do that, or past president. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
sometimes
you.
if it's somebody that they respect, it's a little easier conversation than just, the president because you're the president, right?
Right, right. Exactly. Thank you.
Sure. Hey, you guys in the chat, Cindy is going to jump off in a few minutes, but she is here from Alaska and they have a small chapter with very small volunteers. And she's put in the chat that they've had some great events, but have struggled to get people to become members and become engaged. So anybody have any ideas to help Cindy out before she has to jump off?
I'll chime in quickly. So our chapter, it was two separate and it became one big one. So we're like San Francisco Bay Area and then Central California. And in the Bay Area, we don't have a lot of homeowner leaders, but in Central Valley, we do. But most of them are not members. And so we've been, struggling with this for years of how to encourage membership. And so, I mean, what we're doing is we've increased the price of the non-member luncheons. So it's more advantageous to be a member because the events that you're attending will be cheaper in the long run than paying the non-member rate. So that's kind of what we're doing to try to encourage membership. Just one idea.
Thank you, Mandy. That's a great example because I know what you're talking about there.
Our events are free. We don't charge.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, and so that's a problem we're running into also in Louisiana. We're just starting to formulate our chapter and get everything up and running. I can go through a laundry list of things that is in our strategic plan that have to be met in order for us to continue being a chapter. But we also this past year we offered all our events for free. We're getting our vendors and our national vendors and our local vendors to pay for luncheon sponsorships and have tables so that we could make the events free for people just to generate the interest in our chapter. It seems to be successful, but we'd like to go to a paying model moving forward, obviously to develop some revenue. We have some goals that we'd like to meet. Like for once, we don't have a CED. We can't afford one. And we're trying to raise funds to be able to afford a CED. That's one of the things that's one of my goals and visions this year is not only to meet the requirements of members being part of our chapter to meet the CAI requirements, but also getting a CED. We also have to fill 2 board spots, which is going to happen next month. So we don't even have a board member at large, and we need another business partner. So I'm hoping on my tenure we fill those 2 spots and we get everything rolling. So that's interesting. I'm taking a bunch of notes. So I appreciate everybody's input and feedback. If I don't talk a lot, it's because I'm literally taking copious notes back here in the background. So, and I apologize for not being on camera either. I'm not feeling well. I'm a little under the weather. So as a person said earlier, you don't want to see all this.
Yeah, all the cooties have been going around for sure.
It's the season for sure.
I'm still having trouble finding the toolkit, but I know at one point, isn't there something in there that just like is like a handout or like a trifold or something that talks about all the benefits of being a member and based on what category you are? So if you're a homeowner leader, business partner, or manager, because then they could maybe take that and say, hey, these are the benefits of being a member of our chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's the benefits of membership page. It's under membership main folder. There might be a subfolder and there might be something else. I see it in my head.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I will look under the benefits of membership document. That is definitely on the toolkit under the membership main folder. And then if you click on that, you'll have some subfolders that organize it to different things as well. So
and I'll also remind one thing that I've noticed when I've talked to member or non-members at trade shows and events is also reminding them that this is also an international organization. So you're not just also the local pocket, but that there's a much bigger reach and presence. Specifically with our homeowner leaders, the number one benefit that I hear from a lot of them is that exchange network and being able to ask a question and get responses from their peers from across the country and really from across the world a little bit. And that for our homeowner leaders, again, everyone that I'm talking to at the trade shows that are members, and I ask them, what's your favorite benefit? The homeowner leaders, 100% of the time almost, it's always that exchange. And so while you're talking to members out there, especially if they're homeowner leaders and they're kind of on the fence, I think that's a huge benefit to share with them is that you're a part of this larger network and you might feel like you're in this alone in your little pocket. But with CAI, yes, you have this local component and you have us here and we've got the LAC here, but also at the federal LAC, we've got that, and then also just peers from all over that you can interact with. So I think that could also be a selling point for membership.
One thing too on the free membership is, I know, Michael, you said that you would like to, move to a paid model at some point. So one way to do that and also encourage membership is to perhaps offer your education or events for free to members and have a small fee for non-members. And it doesn't have to be a ton. It can be, $10, $20, something like that, just as they have a little skin in the game. And perhaps that'll turn them into members.
Thank you for that, Crystal. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, we've got a large task ahead of us. We don't have committees. We've got a lot of groundwork to do. So we don't even have it. We haven't had any education at our chapter yet. So there's a lot of ideas. I have a lot of ideas, a lot of things out from previous chapters being on committees in and around the Southeast that I can bring. But let's see if we can constitute some of them. Like Alicia said, not too big of a task that you have like 50 goals. Just trying to implement 5 or 6 of these things would be a big win for our chapter. And obviously meeting all the standards that CAI put in front of us that we haven't met to this point would be a big win. So.
Yeah, well, these calls will certainly be helpful for all of you, as you try to meet goals, because I think this is, everybody here is sitting in the same seat, so they kind of understand your struggles, even if they're a smaller chapter or a larger chapter. We can all relate to what's going on.
I think a key component to success in terms of that maybe also is to kind of hone in and focus on the key players that can assist you with that goal, right? So for us, we put a lot of focus on making sure that we have a lot of manager members and that they attend our events, because without them, the business partners don't want to be there. And so, we utilize our board members that are, within their companies pushing for CAI membership to our chapter, the new managers that come on board, and just making sure. And so I think, it's a big task, but it's something that you have to start somewhere. And I would just keep focusing on the key people that can help you and have that kind of spread out. And it's kind of, that's what we, always think about in Georgia too. And that's worked for us. So.
And Cindy, I saw that you put in the chat that if you do Zoom, you can't charge for those. You definitely can charge for Zoom. So however you're marketing like your events, I mean, you're not charging for your regular in-person events, it sounds like, but so, there's different platforms. So like we use something called Cvent. And so it's just one of many different platforms out there, but that's where you advertise all of your upcoming events. And then that you can, whether it's an in-person or a Zoom event, that's where you could collect it. So even if it's $10, all of the funds you could register, you can pay for it there. And then the people that register, then you send the link out to Zoom.
Gotcha.
I was going to say something similar. Yeah, we do in Minnesota. We've been blessed. I mean, we're about to hit 1,000 members, so this has been a huge growth to the chapter, and we have a pretty good balance of volunteer leaders, business partners, managers, things like that. Education, we started doing an education bundle. So we charge for education because we get credits. And typically if we have them at the hotel or Zoom, there's costs involved, especially at the hotel if you want to feed them lunch or something like that. So we've done an education bundle where management companies can buy, or even an individual manager can buy a bundle, and it gives you access to the 10 programs we put on for a fixed price. That's usually at a discount. And the thing we've done too with those bundles, when we sell them to the management company, we sell them to the management company non-manager specific. So that means if Joe's management company buys 5 bundles, they can send 5 managers, and it doesn't matter who they are, because if there's turnover, then it's not tied to that manager. And that's been really, really successful for us. We started getting homeowner education. We weren't getting homeowners to education sessions. So we started a separate homeowner track. And what we did there is we basically made it only for homeowners. We don't allow managers to attend. We don't allow business partners to attend unless there's a sponsor, because board members felt like they're being poached. You know, all these management companies were going in and trying to poach them to join their other companies. So we gave them this space where they can do their education, do their networking, and not have the managers looming over them. For social events, we charge the business partners. We allow homeowners and managers to attend for free. And that usually drives the managers out and it gives the business partners the people they want to meet with. So depending on what the event is, we've done different fee structures and different ways to do it.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really good point, Jim. It's you've got to look at your audience, who they are, what they're willing to do, you know, the time of your education, the type of education, and who it's geared towards. And sometimes you can do a program where it's, you know, homeowners. I know a lot of times it's homeowners and managers. They're getting the education. It's a panel and there's a homeowner representative, a business partner, and a manager. So you get all the perspectives. But also don't be afraid to kind of do these one-offs or these different tracks, like you called it, Jim, where there is a focus on a certain membership type. But make sure that you're, you know, finding the space and the time that works best for them. So if you have homeowner leaders that are an older demographic who are retired and they can come during the day, then you can hold those meetings. You know, we're seeing some chapters that's not the demographics of their homeowners that are wanting to attend, you know, and they can't get away from work because this isn't related directly to their work. And so they're not getting time off to be able to come to a luncheon. So they need things in the evening or on the weekends so that they can attend those events. So really taking a look at your membership and what works best for you as the chapter.
And the beauty of Zoom now is that for education, you can involve other speakers that you wouldn't normally involve. Like Mike, you've got David Graff over in your neck of the woods, who's an excellent speaker and an excellent educator. We've had him come in and do a presentation. We had, slipping my mind right now, California burnout. Bill Overton did a presentation on manager burnout, and it was amazing. We've had Noel Hicks talk about DEI. We've had these national speakers come in and do education setups during Zoom, and it's been great. And we have also altered the time of day in which we do these events to try and attract managers who may or may not come, or board members who may or not come for different ones. So mixing it up, and you know, like socials, it always used to be 5 to 7, and we never got people. So now we got commitment from the management companies that if we have it earlier in the day, will they allow their managers to attend? And most of the people that are at this meeting said yes. So we started having them 3 to 6, and we're getting better turnout. We've also started doing coffee in the morning. So different ideas like that. I feel like I scared people away. Like 4 people just dropped off the Zoom while I was talking.
Thanks, Jim.
I have a question to the group though, actually. Do any of you all have that recent information as far as what your members, what works best for them, what their preferences are, what their interests are? Have you deployed an engagement survey recently within the last year, or do you have plans to put one out there within the next year?
Well, we did a survey, I think it was about 2 years ago, just to make sure, because we've been at the same location for a long time. So we wanted to find out if, you know, if we change the location or change time to see, because we have, as Kelly knows, we have Kentucky and Ohio. So, and even Ohio, we have Dayton and Cincinnati. We're kind of all over. So we have people driving an hour to our meeting. And so trying to find a location that works for everybody can be a little challenging for everyone and the time, because some people, you know, when you're driving in up from Kentucky for a morning meeting, that you're not going to get there. And so we're trying to mix it up this year. We are doing some breakfast and some lunch to try to accommodate people. And then we're changing up the location. Some will be at this location and some, we're trying to mix it up so we can get different people. If this location doesn't work for you, this location will. And then also throwing in the virtual meeting. So we're trying to hit all the points this time to make sure we can try to accommodate everyone, you know, or at least give them an opportunity to attend, you know.
Yeah, that's what works for us too, because we're such a large geographical chapter. So we have to have different regions. So we have something in like the Silicon Valley, we have something in the East Bay, so we have a couple of different programs at different parts of our area, because not everybody's going to be able to drive, you know, in San Francisco Bay Area traffic, you know, it may not be that far mile wise, but time wise. So we've had to do different programs in different areas.
So Kate, I see you put in the chat that, you know, you don't get the responses. So one thing I just want to throw out there is if there's a way to provide an incentive for taking the survey, right? And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something simple as a $20 Amazon gift card, or asking a sponsor if they're willing to sponsor a gift card for a survey response. Because sometimes it's just that little bit of an incentive to get someone to take something. To help you with that feedback if you're really struggling with it. So just something to think about, and it doesn't have to be something huge of that incentive. And again, I think there's a lot of business partners that if you said, you know, this is sponsored by ABC company, you know, they would love their name to be out there too, or the gift card is sponsored by them and giving them another opportunity. Again, a free event ticket, something of that nature, I think is a great way to kind of help start people responding to your surveys. And I will also say, don't just do the survey after an event, like on a sheet, or say, hey, take a second to fill out the QR code to evaluate and let us know the best time. Because those are the people in the room. And you need to also make sure that the people who aren't in the room are also giving you the feedback. So just make sure that it's the full membership base. It's not just people who are in the room with you.
We basically just said the same thing. I put in the chat.
Yeah.
So one thing I like to recommend, if you get them while they're at the meeting, right before they get up and start leaving, have them scan it and they can take it then, and then maybe wait a couple of days and then send it out via email. And that way you can capture some people who weren't in attendance or the stragglers who just didn't take it at the meeting and things. So lots of options, and you kind of have to just play around with what works best for your group.
Yeah, we do both. We've got the QR code on the table, we've got it on the projector, and then we do a thank you for coming email to all the attendees, and we have the link there as well.
Yeah, people sometimes just need reminders, of course.
So I've got two more things that I just, I know we're getting close on time, that I just want to share, that I think it's important just as a reminder to the group. So as you're going into your board meetings and your committee meetings and everything, make sure that you form that culture of trust within those meetings, that you can have those open conversations, those strong conversations, and the needed conversations. So making sure that you're giving everyone a voice, but also reminding everyone that the conversation is confidential within this space so that people can be open. You can share those thoughts, that you are acting as one group and it's for the interest of CAI. So sometimes it's a good reminder just to start that meeting off with just reminding everybody of that and sharing that what happens here should stay in this space and not leave that space. Most of you have a code of conduct and a conflict of interest form. Those should be provided to the chapter's staff yearly. If you don't have that or you're not doing that, we do have them as a part of our sample policy guide. So we can provide that. I know several of you have them as a part of your bylaws. So just a reminder to make sure that you guys are doing those. Your whole board should be providing those, but it's a good reminder that you as president are kind of setting that tone at the beginning of your meetings for those conversations. And then the second thing on a more fun note is our award submissions are open for 2024. So they are open until February 14th. I am going to send the link out. So just a reminder to submit for those awards. We do provide them at the annual conference. If you have any questions about the awards, again, you can reach out to anyone on our team, but just a reminder for that submission. And then recertification is also due at the end of this month. Your staff should be uploading all of the documentation needed for recertification. I know at President-elect training, we had reviewed that kind of in detail with that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please let us know and we can always touch base with you after. But this is something that you will be signing off on coming in as president. So you want to make sure that everything's that is submitted is correct and official. So again, make sure that you're touching base with your CED, that they have submitted everything, if they have all of the files that they need. And then our team reviews them and will follow up with your CED afterwards, after the review, just to make sure everything is in place with that. So does anyone have questions about the awards or about recertification?
I had a quick question. I saw
Yeah.
that there is an ED Rising Star.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the language, I was wondering, because it says something about 2 years. So does the ED have to have completed a 2 full year term, or can it be their second year in?
No, they have to complete the full 2-year term. So not just yet, Mandy.
I'm like, because we're ready.
You're right
year,
there.
next
You're
year.
right there. Yes. So we have the CED Rising Star. So that's for newer CEDs. And then we also have the CED of the year. So I will grab that link unless someone else beats me to it. But yes, so we do have a submission for both of those. So again, we know that we've got some wonderful CEDs out there. And so if you would like to submit for your CED to be CED of the year or Rising Star, again, they need to be in the position for 2 full years before that. So let me drop this link in here for you. All right. Anything else anyone wants to bring to the group today?
I just had a quick thing. I think it was Jim, maybe that was talking about it. Sorry if it wasn't, but somebody was talking about how there's concern at their events about poaching. And so we had that issue for a while. It was about homeowner leaders getting poached. It was about managers getting poached from other management companies. So we really have had to enforce like our suitcasing policy. And so for a while, like, you know, if you're registering for an event, that language would be there. We would also talk about it in the script. So it was kind of like we were putting it out there in all kinds of different ways because we want people to be able to come to events and feel comfortable and get the education and meet with the business partners for services and not have that as a concern. But it was something that took time, but it was an issue for us, and it no longer is a problem.
That's great to hear. All right. Alicia, Crystal, do you have anything else that you guys would like to add?
This was great. It's so nice to see new faces and some chapters that we haven't seen on these calls for a while. So I just thank you so much for attending and hope we see you in future sessions as well.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting the year off strong. So looking forward to this next year.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us at the beginning of this month. If you have not had your first board meeting yet, good luck. You're going to do great. And we look forward to seeing you all in February. So stay warm out there for all of the areas who are getting the snow that don't normally get that. Stay safe out there with all the other weather craziness that is happening. And have a great long weekend.
I had one last quick question.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Mandy.
Sorry, when it comes to the national event, law seminar, what have you, so right, it's always required for president-elects to come for the training.
At conference, not at law seminar.
Sorry, conference, law seminar is coming up first. Okay, yeah, sorry, conference. Is there any track or anything for us as current presidents that are serving? Because yeah, I'm just wondering if there's specific classes or anything that's directed to us.
So we do have the lounge, so you're welcome to come to the leader lounge, the chapter leader lounge, for any of the discussions that are taking place in there. If there are enough of you that are coming and you want us to have something specific in the lounge for you, we can definitely make that happen. So we can start that communication, we do track to see, you know, what presidents are registered and who is coming. So if that's something that the group is interested in, we can definitely make something happen. But we don't have anything official like the president-elect training, just because it isn't mandatory. And so sometimes we have very few and they want to attend the tracks and the sessions of the conference versus coming into the lounge. But we can definitely talk about that, you know, as we see who's registering and if it makes sense to do something, whether it's even just a conversation or something specific that we want to make sure that we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, I personally would love that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
Have a
Bye,
good
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care.